March 2012, 4:47 p.m. San Fernando, Tamaulipas, the most dangerous town in Mexico. A 16-year-old girl named Karen walks out of school into bright afternoon sunlight. 3 blocks from home, a white pickup truck pulls alongside her. Men in tactical gear jump out carrying military rifles. They're not soldiers. They're Los Zetas, the cartel that dissolves bodies in acid and hangs corpses from bridges as warnings. Karen is shoved into the truck, gone in 30 seconds. Her mother, Miriam Rodríguez, gets the call an hour later. "Your daughter isn't coming home." Police laugh when she reports it. The government pretends it didn't happen. Zetas control everything: checkpoints, police stations, courthouses. Over 5,000 people have disappeared in this state, but Miriam refuses to let her daughter become another ghost. What happens next is impossible. One unarmed mother against Mexico's most violent cartel. How did she survive investigating them? And what secret kept them from eliminating her? March 15, 2012 should have been ordinary. Karen Rodríguez Martinez, 16 years old, attends morning classes at her high school in San Fernando. She's a quiet student who loves reading and helps her mother run their small convenience store. That afternoon, she leaves school at her usual time, walking the familiar 3-block route home. Miriam Rodríguez is restocking shelves at the family store when her phone rings. It's a neighbor. Did Karen come home from school? Miriam checks the time, 4:50 p.m. Karen should have arrived 10 minutes ago. Miriam steps outside, scanning the street. Nothing. By 5:30 p.m., panic sets in. Miriam calls everyone: Karen's friends, teachers, even relatives. Nobody has seen her since she left school. Neighbors mention seeing a white pickup truck near the school around dismissal time, but that's common in San Fernando. Cartel trucks are everywhere. At 7 p.m., Miriam goes to the local police station. The officer behind the desk barely looks up when she explains her daughter is missing. "Maybe she ran away with a boyfriend," he suggests dismissively. Miriam insists Karen would never do that. The officer sighs. "Señora, girls leave home all the time. Give it a few days." But Miriam knows, in San Fernando, when someone disappears, there's only one explanation. Los Zetas, the cartel that controls Tamaulipas state, has taken her daughter. The Zetas aren't traditional drug traffickers. They're former Mexican Special Forces soldiers who went rogue in the 1990s. They're disciplined, ruthless, and systematic. They kidnap people for ransom, force young men to work as cartel soldiers, and make anyone who resists disappear permanently. 2 days after Karen vanishes, Miriam receives a phone call from an unknown number. A man's voice, calm and businesslike. "We have your daughter. If you want to see her alive, it's 1.5 million pesos. That's about 100,000 US dollars, an impossible sum for a family running a small store. Miriam begs to speak to Karen to confirm she's alive. The man hangs up. When Miriam tries calling back, the number is disconnected. She goes to police again with the ransom demand. This time the officer is more honest. "Señora, even if you pay, they probably won't return her, and we can't help you. The Zetas control this town. We can't investigate them." That's when Miriam realizes the horrifying truth. No one is coming to save her daughter. Not police, not federal authorities, not anyone. If Karen is going to be found, Miriam will have to do it herself. Miriam Rodríguez has no training in investigation. She's a 55-year-old woman who runs a convenience store with her husband. She has no weapons, no protection, no powerful connections, but she has something more dangerous than any of those things. Absolute clarity that she has nothing left to lose. She starts with the phone call. Even though the kidnapper's number is disconnected, Miriam knows someone made that call from somewhere. She begins asking questions in the neighborhood. Did anyone see unfamiliar people around the time of Karen's disappearance? Which cartel members operate in this area? Who has connections to the Zetas? Most people refuse to talk. In San Fernando, asking questions about the cartel is suicidal, but Miriam is relentless. She goes door to door, Diane to shop, talking to anyone who might have seen something. Slowly, people start sharing tiny fragments of information, always quietly, always fearfully. One shop owner mentions seeing a white pickup truck with specific damage to its bumper near the school. A taxi driver recalls seeing that same truck at a known cartel safe house on the edge of town. A teenager whispers that his cousin works for the Zetas and mentioned a recent kidnapping. Miriam writes everything down in a notebook she keeps hidden. She's building a map of the cartel's structure, who works for them, where they operate, how they move kidnapped victims. She's doing what police should be doing but won't. Then after 2 months of investigation, Miriam identifies a low-level Zeta operative named Cesar, who was near the school the day Karen disappeared. She learns where he drinks on weekends. One Saturday night, Miriam follows him to a bar. When he's drunk and alone, she approaches him. "I know you took my daughter," she says quietly. Cesar's eyes widen in shock. Before he can respond, Miriam continues, "I'm not police. I just want to know if she's alive and where they're holding her. Cesar could kill her right there." Instead, he seems almost impressed by her audacity. "You're crazy, lady. You know what happens to people who ask questions?" Miriam stares at him without blinking. "I already lost my daughter. What else can you take from me?" Something in her fearlessness unsettles Cesar. He doesn't give her information, but he doesn't hurt her either. He just walks away. But Miriam has learned something crucial. She can get close to these men. She can talk to them. And sometimes they'll reveal things they shouldn't. Over the next year, Miriam perfects a dangerous skill, extracting information from cartel members by appearing so broken and desperate that she doesn't register as a threat. She's just a grieving mother, not an investigator. That assumption becomes her weapon. As Miriam investigates Karen's disappearance, she discovers something shocking. Karen isn't alone. Hundreds of families in Tamaulipas are searching for missing loved ones. Parents whose children vanished, wives whose husbands never came home. The government claims disappearances are exaggerated. Official statistics acknowledge maybe 50 missing people in the region. But Miriam's research suggests the real number is over 300 in San Fernando alone. She starts attending a secret support group for families of the disappeared. The meetings happen in private homes with curtains drawn. Families share information about their missing relatives, pooling knowledge about cartel operations, safe houses, and possible grave sites. Miriam becomes a leader in this underground network. She's the one willing to take the most risks, to confront cartel members directly, to investigate areas others won't approach. She teaches other mothers her techniques: how to follow suspects without being detected, how to extract information through seemingly innocent conversations, how to document everything in case they're killed. Together, the network begins mapping disappearances across the state. They identify patterns. Certain Zeta commanders specialize in kidnapping, specific routes where victims are transported, properties where people are held. They're building a criminal case without any police support. In late 2013, the network receives a tip about a mass grave site in the desert outside San Fernando. Miriam organizes a group of mothers to investigate. They drive to the remote location with shovels and cameras. What they find is horrifying. Dozens of bodies buried in shallow graves, some decomposed beyond recognition, others recent enough to identify. Miriam photographs everything. She documents clothing, personal effects, anything that might help identify victims. Then she does something extraordinary. She contacts national media directly, bypassing local authorities she knows are corrupt. When journalists arrive at the gravesite, they find 30 mothers digging, documenting, and demanding answers. The story goes national. Mothers search for disappeared children, while police do nothing, reads the headline. Suddenly, San Fernando's disappearances become a national scandal. The federal government is forced to respond. They send investigators. They promise action. But locally, nothing changes. The Zetas still control San Fernando, and now Miriam has made herself a very visible target. Cartel members start following her. She receives anonymous threats. "Stop looking or you'll disappear too." Her husband begs her to stop. Her surviving children beg her to stop. But Miriam won't. She's been investigating for over a year, and she's gotten close to finding who took Karen. Then, in early 2014, Miriam gets a break. She identifies the man who actually grabbed Karen that afternoon. His name is being withheld for legal reasons, but Miriam knows exactly who he is. Miriam spends months tracking this man, the Zeta operative who physically kidnapped Karen. She learns his routines, his habits, where he lives. She discovers he has a girlfriend in a neighboring town who doesn't know he works for the cartel. Miriam approaches the girlfriend at a market, pretending to be a distant relative looking for him. The girlfriend, thinking Miriam is family, reveals where he'll be that weekend, a family party at a house on the edge of town. Miriam waits outside that house on Saturday night. When the man finally emerges drunk at 2 a.m., Miriam confronts him in the street. "You took my daughter Karen on March 15th, 2012. I need to know if she's alive." The man is shocked, sober. He recognizes Miriam. Everyone in the cartel knows about the crazy mother asking questions. He could kill her right there. Instead, he makes a calculation. This woman has been investigating for 2 years. She's found mass graves. She's brought federal attention to San Fernando. She's become too visible to simply disappear. "Your daughter is dead," he says flatly. "She died 6 months after we took her. They buried her with others outside town." Miriam feels her legs go weak, but she forces herself to stay focused. "Where exactly?" The man hesitates, then gives coordinates to a location in the desert. "Why are you telling me?" Miriam asks. The man looks at her with something like respect. "Because you won't stop until you know, and because everyone in the cartel is talking about you. Subin, you're making us look weak. One woman doing what entire police forces won't do. I'm telling you, so maybe you'll finally stop." Miriam takes the information to the authorities she's cultivated at the federal level. Investigators excavate the site and find 15 bodies, including Karen's. DNA testing confirms it's her. After 2 years of searching, Miriam finally has her daughter back, or what remains of her. Most people would stop there. The search is over. Justice is impossible in a region where cartels control everything. But Miriam doesn't stop. She's spent 2 years documenting the Zetas' operations. And now, instead of grieving quietly, Miriam decides to do something unprecedented. She's going to hunt down every single person involved in Karen's kidnapping and the disappearances of hundreds of others, one by one, with no badge, no gun, just determination and the intelligence network she's built. Between 2014 and 2017, Miriam Rodríguez becomes something unprecedented in Mexico. A civilian serial vigilante who hunts cartel members and turns them over to authorities. Her methods are extraordinary. She creates fake social media profiles to catfish cartel members, luring them to locations where federal police wait to arrest them. She poses as a prostitute to get close to targets. She follows suspects for weeks, documenting their activities until she has enough evidence to ensure their prosecution. Miriam personally identifies and helps capture at least 10 men directly involved in Karen's kidnapping and murder. Each one she tracks down with obsessive precision. She's relentless, methodical, and fearless in ways that terrify even cartel members. Her most audacious operation happens in 2016. She identifies a high-ranking Zeta commander living comfortably in a different state under an assumed identity. Miriam travels there, locates him, and sets up an elaborate sting. She arranges for him to meet a business associate at a restaurant, actually federal agents waiting to arrest him. When he arrives and realizes he's been caught, he asks who set him up. The agents tell him, "Miriam Rodríguez, the mother from San Fernando." The commander's face goes pale. Even in custody, he's terrified of this woman. But Miriam's vigilantism comes at a cost. The Zetas put a bounty on her head. Cartel members make increasingly serious threats. In 2017, gunmen fire shots at her house. Miriam refuses to stop. She refuses police protection, knowing many officers work for the cartel. On Mother's Day, May 10, 2017, gunmen finally catch up to Miriam. She's shot 12 times in her home in San Fernando. She dies instantly. She was 57 years old. Her murder sparks national outrage. Journalists who covered her story write tributes. The mother's network she helped build continues her work. Federal authorities, shamed by Miriam doing their job, finally begin seriously investigating disappearances in Tamaulipas. Within 2 years of her death, the state governor resigns under pressure. related to corruption and complicity with cartels. Dozens more cartel members are arrested based on intelligence Miriam gathered. Miriam Rodríguez didn't defeat the cartels. Los Zetas still operate in Tamaulipas. Disappearances still happen. Corruption still exists. But she proved something revolutionary: that ordinary people can fight back even in the most hopeless situations. She documented over 300 disappearances authorities claimed didn't exist. She found mass graves police wouldn't search for. She captured cartel members law enforcement was too scared or corrupt to arrest. One unarmed mother accomplished what entire police forces wouldn't attempt. She paid with her life, but she changed what's possible. Today, mothers groups across Mexico follow her model, investigating, documenting, demanding justice. They call themselves Las Rastreadoras, the Searchers. They're Miriam's legacy, here continuing the work she started, proving that courage doesn't require a badge, just a refusal to let loved ones become ghosts.